Welcome back to Decoding the Flow. I am your host, Drica Lobo, and today's guest is someone I've admired for years. I first met Leah Guzman through the Art Queens community a few years back, and I've been following her work ever since. Leah is the founder of Creative Soul Society and the art therapy online besides being an artist herself. And she helps people reconnect with themselves through creativity, self-expression, and healing. What I really love about Leah's approach is that she reminds us that creativity isn't just about making art. It is about understanding ourselves more deeply, processing our experiences, and creating a life that really feels aligned from the inside out. Today, we are exploring this intersection of creativity, healing, personal growth, and what happens when we allow the creative process to become a tool for transformation. Leah, I'm so happy to have you here. Welcome to Decoding the Flow.
Thank you. That was such a beautiful introduction. I just feel so seen and heard, and I really appreciate that you get me. I feel that alignment. That's amazing. Thank
Yeah, it's so beautiful. I love your background. It's very, very aligned with the whole idea of the podcast. And for people discovering your work for the first time, what first drew you to both art and healing? And how did those two paths eventually merge?
It's a great question. So I've always been an artist. I mean, just growing up, just always making things, right? And there was a time in high school where it got a little difficult. It was a little challenging. We moved around a lot. I lived with my mom, and she was a flight attendant, so I was alone a lot as well. So I really needed to just find a way to have an outlet. I didn't have that many friends, and my art just saved me. I mean, I went through bouts of anxiety and depression, and I was just like, I need to just do my art because it makes me happy. And from that experience, like I was actually I had my work in a show, I was being judged, and one of the judges said, "Hey, what are you interested? What do you want to do?" And I was like, "Well, I love art. I love psychology." And they told me about art therapy, and I was just like, "What? That's a thing? I didn't know." So I did my research. Actually, ended up going to an art therapist in college. Yeah, I was like, "Oh, this is my path. This is definitely." And thank goodness that it was an opportunity because it just felt like that's where I needed to go. And I always just knew that, during different times in my life where that have been tough, my art has always been able to save me, but also when times are good. I mean, just being able to have that relationship to be creative, I think is important. But also it's important to just honor that creative flow because I'm thinking of, it's not like I do love creating all the time, but there are times when I don't create, where I take breaks. So it's like this ebb and flow as well that I have to honor and not beat myself up over it.
Yeah, I think we artists, I think we all kind of face this thing that we romanticize being an artist and we think that we're going to spend all day in the studio and it's not even close to that. And I think it goes through periods. If you have a solo show or if you're working on a collection, then we'll work really hard. But then I started to understand that your breaks are
Mhm.
also part of the process.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's why he's like, then not to beat yourself up over those breaks, but they're a part of the taking in information and
Yeah.
let it synthesize and then how does it want to come back out? Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the research periods. I love just to dive into different spaces and different worlds, different obsessions, and see what is that going to bring to my art next.
Well,
Yeah.
it's interesting that you brought up the art queens because Katerina Popova, she's an amazing artist. And I just recently took her class as an oil painting class. And I started it a few months ago. And then my dad passed away and I stopped doing the class. So I was getting really back into oil painting. I love oil painting. And I kind of stopped it just because of grief and just just where I was at. I just needed to rest. And it was it's so cool. She came into my dream last night. She's like, "Get back, come back." And so I've decided today, like after our call, I'm going to start again, and I'm going to do it to honor my dad. I'm going to do a series. It's going to be called "The Taste of Tarpon." I grew up in Tarpon Springs, and he always lived in Tarpon Springs. So I just want to go through like all the places, the food. It's a little Greek community, and just honor him, but honor my creativity as well as like processing that grief. So I'm
Wow.
so excited. It's gonna like all these like little things align, but it's just really magical.
Oh, first of all, I'm really sorry about your loss.
Yours too.
Not like taking away your pain at all. And because I know we were supposed to record that like before that happened and we have to like reschedule. So I'm really sorry. And I'm really happy that you decided to do that in honor of him. You're living in Miami right now, right?
Yes, I live in Miami, Florida.
Can't wait to see. That is beautiful.
Yeah, we'll see what comes up
Yeah.
from it. But I'm feeling motivated. I feel like
Yeah.
at this time, like I need to start again.
Yeah.
Today's the day. I'm
Yeah.
recommitting.
There you go. There you go. It's a decision, right?
Yeah,
Once you decide.
yeah.
So going back to when I lost my father, I was in France in the middle of an artist in residency when he passed away. But I was also able to use art as a way for me to express myself and
Yeah,
whatever I created there,
yeah.
it's him in everything. So it was like my way to honor. It was the most beautiful thing. It's really hard to understand the timeline and something hits you. It's like it's not your timeline. It's not your story. And then you just pivot into this way of creating in honor of our fathers. It is really beautiful. I can't wait to see what you're going to create.
Oh,
So, okay, I have another question. Many people think creativity is something reserved for artists. And what have you learned about creativity as a tool for emotional healing and self discovery?
yeah. Wow. So I do a lot of workshops in the world, and sometimes people, it's so funny, they won't even market it as like art therapy because they're afraid like they might not show up. Because when you say art, so many people have these experiences that's really sad that like they might have been in elementary school and our teacher said, "You're not doing a good job." And it just like sticks. Right.
Mm,
And then they never explored any further. And it's just so sad. But the people that do show up, they're like, "Hey, what is this? Oh, we're doing this? Oh gosh." They have these reservation, but then they actually give themselves permission to play, to experiment. And they're like, "Wow, that's a lot of fun." Right? And so part of my Creative Soul Society, I try to keep it like open to non-artists as well, because we're all creatives, right?
yes.
And it's just as long as you're open to experimenting, you're open to messing up, you're open to hating what you make, and then you don't have to love what you make. I mean, it's just about being expressive, and then you are going to end up liking something along the way, right? So it is fun to see that magic of people like converting creatives into artists because eventually it's like you got to own it.
Yeah.
And that's another
Another podcast, like at all. It took me years to call myself an artist, and I think it is something that happens more often than not.
yeah. Yeah, just owning it and saying, "Oh wow, I'm official. I can do this. I can put myself out into the world," because it is important to create. I do believe in that. And that you don't have to actually go out and sell it if you don't want to. You know, you can. And I think that's what people consider as a professional is that you're putting like this business aspect to it, which is great, but it doesn't have to be that as well, you know?
Yeah. It can be just a way of expressing yourself and get creative.
Yeah.
All right, I have this interesting questions because I really like art therapy, like using art as therapy because as an artist myself, it is my therapy, right? It is so beautiful when you can learn to use as a way, as an outlet for self expression and healing. But do you think creativity heals us because it helps us express what we are processing or because it helps us become who we really are?
Well, let me go back a little bit with like the first part of like art therapy because like coming, I've been practicing for over 21 years now. I can't believe
Wow,
I
that's
graduated
beautiful.
in 2003. But part of that process of calling something art therapy is that you're actually working with an art therapist so that you can be guided and then reflecting on your life so that you can actually have someone to process your artwork with. So that's kind of like what like coins it as art therapy. And I know that a lot, like I make art like by myself and it feels therapeutic. It really, because it's cathartic and it's expressive and all these things, but it doesn't technically mean that it's like necessarily art therapy, but it does have healing components, right? Because it's going to lower your stress. You're going to get like all the goodness, but it's just like there's like another element when it's like you are supported by an art therapist because there is usually a goal attached, like you're relieving your anxiety or you're, decreasing your depressive symptoms or, this like we're going somewhere. There's an intention behind it.
And also the exercises are a little bit more direct to what the person needs, correct? Can you let us know how actually works? Like if somebody is facing some trauma that is really terrible, how would you approach in a way like what kind of art it needs to a specific traumas or how does that work? I'm very curious.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So, like, if I were going to work with someone that has experienced some heavy trauma, I usually would not start with the heavy trauma, right? Because they might not be ready to deal with it. A lot of times, I mean, that's what coping is about. A lot of times, people will dissociate, like disconnect from their trauma, or they're finding other ways to deal with it, and that's not a negative thing. But when they're coming to therapy, is they do want to deal with it, but you want to prepare them
Mhm.
meaning that you want to build up the coping so they have many different tools in order to deal with the triggers that come up from certain traumas. Whether it was like an accident or losing a loved one or there's so many different types of being abused. There's so many different traumas. So being able to make them feel like they have strengths, like identifying their strengths, know what those are, seeing them within the art, boosting them, making sure they have a really good support system, and then knowing what to do when they do feel triggered, meaning like they're one of like that fight, that flight, the
Yeah.
fawning, the freezing, that type of reaction, so that they know, hey, wait, I get a toolkit that I can use. So I want to like support them there first, and then when they're ready, they'll be ready to like start making some art about that trauma and how has it affected them, and then how do they want to move forward? Because ideally, it's like you do want to feel freedom, happiness, joy. And so when the situations that occur that could trigger some uncomfortableness, they'll know how to deal with it better and life gets easier. So it's no longer some past memory that they're holding on to. It's just a part of their nervous system that feels regulated. And they're just like,
Mhm.
that was then. And I'm in my life now and I can move forward to the future.
Yeah.
How is
How do emotions that remain unexpressed affect our overall well-being or creativity, creative flow?
Well, they've done research about creativity and how it affects you. And they were looking at the cortisol levels, which is the stress hormone. So they would put it under like people's tongues and like measure it and then have 45 minutes of art making, measure it again. And they were like, they could see the cortisol be reduced.
Draw.
So that's what I'm saying. Like art making in itself is powerful, right? Because you could do it on your own. That's when you feel good. That's like for me, like art making, my goal is just to feel satisfied. That's that dopamine hit. It's like if I can just do it and I'm just proud of myself for showing up,
Yeah.
yes, that's that's amazing for me.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to
Uh,
be the finished piece. It's just showing up.
no, yeah, and that dopamine hit the minute, like first your cortisol levels, like you can feel you're slowing down and you really have to have focus on that present moment. Even if you have a million things and if you start doing some sort of art, you are going to be forced to be in the present moment.
Mhm,
That's from my experience. I don't have the knowledge as a therapist as you do, but I also have been doing those sort of challenge, like one painting a day. I did
mhm,
it for 60 days and then I just finished the 100 days.
I
And the
really
dopamine hit, I painted mini canvases. They're all 6 by 6. And the dopamine hits that you get once you finish, it is undescribable. It is so beautiful. It's like if I can just shake somebody that is going through a hard time, just to do some sort of this challenge and show up for yourself. It is gonna change your life. Yeah, so nice. So, after years of helping other people, you said 21 years. Wow, this is beautiful. What does your own creative practice look like?
well, there have been points in my life where I talk about like that ebb and flow. I have two beautiful kids, and when they were little, I got to a point where I was got really burned out because it was just always giving, giving, giving and saying yes to everybody. And it's another point in my life where I actually got support from an art therapist. And I'm like, I can't keep going. I can't keep doing this. What's going on? And I didn't realize this is like power of like seeing someone and having them self-reflect back to you was that I was a people pleaser and I was burned out by saying yes to everybody else. And then actually looking at, well, and this is what came out in the artwork when I created with them was I really wanted to show up in a different way, and I wanted to just, like, make art that I would put out into the world, that I would share in a different way. Because before I was if I did make art, when I was making art, I would just make it for myself. And so that's actually when I started writing my first book. It was called Raddest Man. It was about this little monster truck who was dealing with feeling sad and mad and how he went about it. So I did all the art for it and illustrated him. At this time, my son was like 5 and he was really into monster trucks. So it kind of like fit into the kids that I was seeing for art therapy, but also my son. And it was all about like taking care of yourself. Like that's how he got through his sad and mad feelings. So just, going through this process of knowing that I needed to show up in a different way, it got me back into my art because at that being burned out, meaning I wasn't doing the art for my own self-care, right? So it made me really commit to my art, but I also realized that I needed consistency. I needed accountability. So this is where actually the Creative Soul Society membership came from, is that, hey, I want to do this, but I don't want to do this all by myself. I want to be able to show up with others because I feel like in community, that's where you can really thrive. And it was like, we're going to be in our 6 year anniversary this August.
Congratulations.
Yeah, yeah, we started in 2020 and just showing up and then having others there like every week, meet on like every Monday evening. It's it's super powerful. I mean, it's all about, like, self-exploration, and I just know that I'm gonna be creating on a weekly basis, and that feels good. That's like
Yeah.
yeah, no matter what, sometimes it is for, like, a series that I'm working on, but a lot of times it's just more like art journaling, just being expressive, playing, being in that kind of mode. So
The exploration mode, because I feel like if you're working on a series, yes, you can explore, but you always already have something to achieve in mind. So
yeah,
it's really important to have an extra time, your studio time, just for experimentation.
yeah, to play
The
and
play,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I teach art for adults, those paint and sip that you go like either in a restaurant or a private event. And what I hear the most, I'm not creative. And they're so afraid, but they all in the play mode. And that is what I always say to them. Like, remember these words, play, that is the only rule.
yeah,
So, that being said, when someone says, I'm not creative or I am creative blocked, there's another thing we can hear. What do you think is actually happening beneath the surface? You are listening to Decoding the Flow with me, Drica Lobo. If this conversation is inspiring you, take a moment to follow the show and share it with someone who is ready to live more creatively. You can find more inspiration, art, and behind the scenes stories at dricalobo.com or my Instagram at dricaloboart.
yeah.
Now, let's take a deep breath and get back to the flow.
Well, it's a relationship with self, and part of creativity is a part of you. So it's like rekindling that relationship with self to play, to explore. I mean, that's like why Julia Cameron wrote The Artist's Way, right? We've done that book club a few times in, in the Creative Soul Society. So it has different exercises in there to say, hey, let's look at life in this different way and explore it and see what's stopping us as well. So yeah, so usually if someone, is blocked, it's because it's usually the ego, right? Or it's like that art teacher that was said something mean, or that idea that you're gonna fail. So it's looking at it like what is underlying, and then can that be changed? Of course it can be changed. You just gotta be open to it.
Yeah.
uh, a lot of times people come in with perfectionism. That's also needs to be healed because nothing's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, I've been doing a few solo episodes, and one of them I talk about creative blocks. And what I also really believe that happens, it is the performance piece, that thing that you think because you're creating, it needs to be perfect. Like it's all related, right?
Mm.
The performance and the expectation, and especially with social media now that everybody share everything. Well, not so much those days, I feel like it. How do you relate creativity with authenticity?
That's just so important. It's so important. Like I know that when people are starting off, they take classes, right? It's like you take classes to learn kind of the basic techniques, what you can do with the material, what works, what doesn't. But the real, I think, challenge for most people is being able to get past that and say, what is my mark? The way that you put how much pressure you put on the pencil or how much paint that you lay onto that canvas. It makes it uniquely yours. That's your authenticity. And so it's kind of getting past, copying the teacher or copying something that's already been made and then getting into your own style. Like, well, what makes it yours? I mean, that is a plant, right? But it's like, well, what makes this plant painting my painting, right? Because of the way I put it together, or the composition, or whatever else that makes it mine, using the color palette that I like to use. So it's so I think authenticity is super important, and especially in like I'm not against AI at all. I think it's really cool. You can go on and say, "Hey, make me this," but the part that we're all unique individuals, we all have our soul, and like being able to bring that out into the world and share it in our own voice and finding your voice along the way. I think it's so important. Yeah.
Yeah. Going back to your point that you start doing art classes and then you start copying, I copy a few other artists. That is a great way for you to start. And what I usually say is like, don't stop there. Keep exploring. And even if you notice in your copy, what was your mistakes?
Mhm.
That's your golden part, right? That's how you start finding. And yeah, I love because I've painted my whole life, and not until after 20 years of painting that I found my own art style.
That's amazing. It's beautiful. I love all your beaches and
But it never started
I
there. It took me years and years and a lot of practice. And it's really easy to copy somebody, but never stops there. Keep exploring until you find your authenticity, your own mark. If someone listened to this podcast or watching on YouTube feels stuck or disconnected, maybe afraid to express themselves creatively, what is one step they could take today to help them get out of the hut?
sure. Just giving yourself permission to say, "Hey, I'm interested in this. I want to like lean in. I want to, try something new." Whether it is a paint and sip class, I mean, that could be a possibility. Whether it's, I don't mind giving you a free trial link to the Creative Soul Society. I could put that here too, so that people want to try like
Absolutely. Yeah.
because we meet every Monday. So it's like you can come, you can try things out, and just like giving yourself permission, giving yourself permission to play, give yourself permission to fail, and to start again. And that's the fun part of it is like you are going to make something that you are going to like, and so rewarding. And it isn't about making something that you like. It's really about just that expression. That's what that dopamine hit is. That satisfaction of, hey, I showed up and that was fun. That was the way the colors hit, the layering, you get lost, you get into that
It's
flow.
fun. One of my signature styles are my blendings, and I
Mm,
blend it straight to the canvas because I love witnessing the
yeah.
colors blending. It is almost the colors asking for evolution, creating the movement itself to create something new. And yeah, it's fascinating to me. It's like a little nerd artist. Have you ever experienced a period where your own creativity disappear, your own creative blocks, and how did you do it to get past it?
Yeah, yeah. It's again, it's not that relationship with art. And I made a lot of art in high school and then in college, my undergraduate degree and was in studio sculpture. So I was always making. And my master's I got did in art therapy. I was always making. But then it was like when I started working, like as an art therapist, that's where I kind of lost myself. It's just I wasn't practicing what I was preaching. I was just kind of in, in serving and showing up and living and, having children, which is amazing. Love them to death. But there was that part where I kind of lost myself. That part was really hard. And I think getting back was, I mean, I just remember like just crying and like 3 o'clock in the morning and writing in my journal, be like, I feel like I'm in a hole and I don't know how to get out. Like I was just, wait, I can get support. And it's like if I could, if I'm asking other people to come to me for support, then I should be able to do that for myself. So that part was hard because I'm the type of person that like to do things all by myself. I'm like,
Yeah.
now I'm not like that. Now I'm very open to being supported and learning and things like that. But yeah, there was a point where I was like, wow, it's like a slap in the face of like, I need to be doing my art. I need to be taking care of myself in that way. And sometimes we do get stuck.
Yeah.
Don't even
It's
realize
part
it.
of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that would be the one that sticks out the most for me. But like I was saying, I do go through these like ebbs and flows. Like I do meet every Monday with my creative social say we are making stuff, but for my own series, like I said, like I was I was working with some oils and I just took a break. But now it's like, wait, this is a new series that I've been wanting to make. Been in the back of my mind. I'm ready to show up again. So yeah, so it's just
Nice.
commitment.
Your art will always going to call you back. I feel like it. So if like you've been working as an art therapist, can you define exactly what does an art therapist actually does? And if there is a specific profile for people to look for an art therapist instead of any other type of therapy?
Oh, yeah. Well, a lot of clients that I get online, I do work in person too. I go to different schools and provide art therapy. It's usually for the kids who are artistic, meaning that like going to a traditional talk therapist at the school, they're already making art all the time. So it's like, once you see the art therapist, right? So it's part of like through their art, they're going to be able to tell their story and it's easier for them to express themselves, right? For uh, the adults that I work with online, like women who are like going through like a life transition, like a divorce, or just maybe a lot of times it's been like I've meeting with a lot of people that have narcissistic relationships, super complicated, a lot of grief and building their self worth. So
That is so hard. Yeah.
yeah, it's really it can be really intense, or they might be grieving a loved ones, things like that. So working with them online is, again, it's being able to see what their needs are and allowing them to express themselves through creativity. Something that I like to do is that I like to be like structured. I'll show you. I always start with this little it's kind of like my little map. We do a focus life wheel. And so we visually draw out this wheel. It's like 8 pieces of the pie. And I like to look at every area of your life because every area of your life is a relationship. It's like a relationship with yourself. You have a relationship with your work. You have your relationship with your health, your home, your money, your passion projects, your travel, and your self-care. So I like to like really see like where people are putting their energy because whatever you focus on expands. So if something is imbalanced, if they're avoiding something, it's going to show up in that wheel. So we rate ourselves, not in like a good or bad way, but just saying, oh my goodness, my self-care practice is out of one. Like, okay, well let's get you into more of a routine so that you can give yourself some, self-care that you're going to be able to feel at peace, feel grounded during the day. And it's fun to do that because wherever they're lowest, will say if it's a relationship with money, we are making art around their relationship with money, and healing that relationship with money because we have stories and how they've impacted us, and that affects every area of your life. Like if one of those is imbalanced, it's going to affect the rest.
Yeah.
So it guides us. I like to do containers with people. I like to have at least 14 sessions so that we can really dive deep in the art making, dive deep into your life, and it is going to guide us. And it's really fun because by the end of the 14 sessions, we'll do check-ins in the middle too. But you could see like they're giving themselves credit for showing up and doing the work. We're like, oh wow, I've been working on this, and I could see myself grow. So
So
that's kind of the
fascinating.
process of that. What I feel is what works for people, right? They get to see the visual in front of them. That's what I love about art therapy is that, like, you are making art about your life, but you're also just like talking about it, but you're literally seeing it. And
Yeah. Can you see or notice if the healing happens in the self expression itself? Or people, once they draw or paint, they can see something that came intuitive to them, and then they can recognize that inner narrative that maybe it's on the subconscious mind.
I think it's a little bit of both. There's things that come up in the art that they weren't expecting. Like, I'm not sure why that. I had this one client, oh, it was so cool. She came to me because she loved running. And she was an artist, but she loved running and she hurt her foot. She had to have a surgery, couldn't run anymore. She's like, "Oh my gosh, kind of blocked with my art right now. And my main source of like, outlet is running and I can't." So she came to me with like that was the issue. And we got her back into painting and it was so interesting. All of her paintings had birds and nests in them. And
Wow.
so it came out, like, within our sessions together that she really wanted to have a family with her husband, and she wanted to have babies. And it was, like, about this conversation that she's been, like, avoiding and really wanting to dive deeper with him. And like, now she has 2 beautiful children, like, it just
Wow.
and it's like, she didn't realize that that's really what they're kinda, like, running from, but really what she desired. And that was, like, the theme within the sessions. That was pretty cool.
That is so cool. Yeah, because once you allow yourself to play in the creative process, it is stuff from your subconscious mind and your memories that is like deep down there that sometimes it's just by drawing that we're going to figure it out what it is. Very cool. What does creative flow feel like in your body when you fully align? Let's talk about flow because I know you also talk about flow states, and I'm so passionate. I mean, getting the name of this podcast, Decoding the Flow. So I always like to ask these questions and have different point of views. And yes, let us know.
So, what does it feel like in the body? It definitely feels like alignment. It feels like satisfaction. For me, sometimes if I'm having difficulty just getting there, I'll have to do things to relax my body in order to even allow myself to show up to the art practice. Like it was so interesting when there was times when I was blocked. I remember going to a yoga class made me so relaxed physically, right? That it was so much easier to just show up to my canvas and say, this is what I'm working on because I was already relaxed. So a lot of times, even for myself, like if I'm feeling tense or, holding something from the day, you know, I'll put some frequency music on. I love frequency music, like opening the heart chakra. I might just do some bilateral painting, just like just does something with like being able to use both sides of the brain, which helps calms it down as well. Like EMDR music is really good. So I'll just do things to get myself relaxed first, and then it's so much easier to just dive into that flow state within my.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I heard this podcast the other day, and they were talking about flow has to be earned. And I've never heard of that point of view. And it kind of makes sense
Mhm.
because for you to be able to achieve flow, you have to have a certain knowledge in what you're doing. So I love that point of view that flow it needs to be earned because we talk about going with the flow, but you have to have that consistency. You have to be showing up and you do have to allow your nervous system to calm down, just exactly what you were saying, to be able to achieve flow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise, you're just in stress. Eh, Not gonna work.
And then it looks like that when you when you make the art.
Right. So, Leah, let us know about how people can work with you, find you. I'm definitely going to add all of the informations in the show notes. I also love to acknowledge you for all that you do for all of these years, helping people to get in touch with their creativity. And if it's also something else that you wanted to say that we haven't touched, the mic is all yours.
Thank you, Drika. This is awesome. I'm so happy that you've created this podcast and just highlighting creatives. And this is such important work, right? It's just letting people know that it's possible and to if you're scratching the surface, if you're like leaning in, just do it. It's going to be so beneficial in so many different ways. If somebody was looking for art therapy services, if they're, wanting to try something new, sometimes people, a lot of times I work with people that have traditional therapy, verbal therapy, and they're like, I want to try something else. I want to be expressive in a different way. You can go to my website. There are free consultations that you can meet with me that way if you want to try a 7-day trial, if you want to meet in community, work with other creatives, and we have different themes every month that we're doing a soul portrait self reflection series this month. Last month we did all watercolors. Next month we're going to be doing collage. So we have different things that come up that we're working on. I'd love for Drika for you to join us one day.
Yeah, love to. I'll definitely look it up. Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, leahguzmanstudio.com or leahguzman.com is the best way to reach me on Instagram. I'm art therapy online and then the same with YouTube.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Leah. I really appreciate you, your work. Again, I'm going to add everything in the show notes. And
Okay.
please make sure to follow Leah and see what wonderful work that she does besides her beautiful artworks that's on the background of your Zoom meeting. Thank you so much. And if you love this podcast interview, make sure to subscribe and to share it with someone who you think it might absolute love this podcast. Don't forget to leave your biggest takeaway in the comments. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Bye.